wish to welcome you all to the Gambia Immigration Department Migration Unit here in Tangier. It is another occasion where we want to give you highlights of our engagements towards migration issues, particularly when it comes to irregular migration. It is not news to you that GID had intensified efforts over the past months to make sure that people who want to leave this country irregularly are also handled. Now, we have registered numerous occasions whereby Gambians who want to leave the country had been intercepted. But again, we have seen different dynamics that have been raised of recent, and we want to share with you some of these registered successes. Now, there are different cases that we want to share with you just in the course of 1 month, that is from the 7th of June down to today, the 10th of July, 2025. Now, when you look at the records of what we have registered this particular month, you will tend to realize that there is a peak when it comes to migration matters. There are movements every now and then, and it is only through the vigilance of the GID that we're able to sometimes mitigate some of these practices. Now, before we go through the statistics of some of these cases, I would want to share with you that we have observed in different cases that the modus operandi of most of these organizers comes in different folds, but particularly the organizers in most cases are not even Gambians. They're non-Gambians who would come to the country, recruit migrants or recruit them in other West African countries, and then bring them to the Gambia as a transit. Now, in most cases, their payments are done in installments. It is not done using any bank accounts, but it is done installment. And it ranges from 25,000 going down to 80,000 dollars. And when we are able to receive some of these cases, it becomes hard for you to trace the money because there is no track of how it was being paid because it is all physically done. But then we've also noticed that the surge of irregular migration occurs in key communities within the Gambia. And in most of these cases includes the areas of Katong, Gunjur, Sanyang, Kanji, and also of recent we had seen others around Bara as well. And these areas we've mentioned all fall within the coastal lines, the coastal belts, and one can now be able to gauge why are they always using these particular areas. So it means as personnel within the immigration society, and also as citizens, we need to know what efforts can we play to be able to at least mitigate these practices. Now, looking at the cases from June, starting with June 7, 2025, there was an interception made in Brekama around 2100 hours at night. This interception, we were able to have 22 would-be migrants in the interception. And then chiefly among all those that were intercepted are non-Gambians. We had only one Gambian who was in that particular interception. We had 13 Guineans. There were 3 Malians. We also had 2 Ivorians and 1 Zambian. Now, from the numbers we've had, Zambia had not been a common case in the Gambia. But now we have seen people outside the West African bloc also being involved through the Gambia here. Now, by gender aggregation, we had 10 of them who were males, 12 of them were females, and this includes 1 minor who's a male and again a minor who's a female. That is 2 minors altogether in the first case. Now, this case occurred in Bekama on the 7th of June 2025. Now, in that case, we've understood that there are 2 smugglers who are involved. And again, most of these migrants in their operandi nowadays, they will not just go to the sea directly. They would lodge in a particular vicinity in a community. And there was a landlord that harbored them in that particular area. And then the main organizer of the case is believed to be Abdullahi Yafa, who remains at large at this particular point in time. Now, in the second case, it happened at Tangi, Batokunku. We had it on the 11th of June 2025. 46 would-be migrants were intercepted in these operations, and this includes 6 Gambians, 23 Senegalese, 7 Guineans, 6 Malians, and 4 Ivorians in this case. So you can again see in the comparative analysis that we still have only a few Gambians involved in that particular case as well. The demographics, we have 41 of them who are males, 5 of them were females, and we had 1 minor who's a female also in that particular case. The organizer of this particular trip is believed to be Abdoulaye Lo, who is also a Senegalese national, and Adam Adem, who is a Gambian national. Now, again, you would see that interconnection between how Senegambians are able to connect in trying to organize most of these trips. While it occurs within the Gambia, we can now see that West African countries are using the Gambia as a route to be able to connect into other countries. Now, talking about the third case that occurred in Bara on the 20th of June 2025, we had 17 would-be migrants that were intercepted. In the same number, we have just 5 Gambians, 7 Guineans, 3 Senegalese, and 2 Malians. So again, based on the number aggregate 2, the Gambian number still remains at a lower scale. We had 12 of them that were male, 5 of them were female, and 2 female minors who are also involved in the case. When it comes to those that are seen as suspects in that case, we have 3 smugglers, which include Kadim Jai, who was able to provide a safe house in Tangi for the migrants, and Bachili, who was able to facilitate the crossing point of the people via the Amdalai border post. And this occurred on the 20th of June 2025. Moving forward, we had another case in the same month, June, which occurred at Jara Soma, a very rare case where we see interceptions made around those areas like Jara Soma. But then, if they are now expanding to other regions, we have to ask ourselves again, why are they shifting the dynamics? Is it because they have seen us registering more success within the Greater Banjul area here, and now they want to explore more areas? And that will still call for more vigilance from other regions in the Gambia, that they have no single place where they want to stay, and they will look for all routes to be able to travel within the Gambia. Now, in that case, we had Lamin Jete, who is believed to be the suspect of that particular case, and Lamin is a Gambian from Kiang Tankolar. We were able to recover one large wooden boat and 240 horsepipe Yamaha engine in that particular case. And we had co-suspects of Lamin, which includes Sekou Kamara and also Lamin Jaju, who are both Gambians in that circumstance. Moving forward, we had another case which occurred in July. So in the month of June, we had close to 8 cases, right? But then let's look at the cases we had in June. In July, for example, we're just in the first week of July. Today is the 10th of July. And we have received more than 3 interceptions in just that particular week. And what is most shocking is the number had increased tremendously when it comes to the case of July. The first case we had was in Katong. In Katong, we had 8 migrants that were intercepted on the 3rd of July 2025. This includes 2 minors, and they were all found at the Katong border crossing point where they were intercepted. Now, we again had another case in Katong on Saturday, 6th July 2025. So Katong becomes also a hub when it comes to irregular migration activities. And in the second case that occurred on the 6th of July, we had 31 would-be migrants who were intercepted. The suspect, the agent who was found in the investigation, found was Mohamed Njai, who is a Senegalese at the age of 29 and was apprehended during the operations. Now, the key organizers, they have agents. You have the main organizers and the sub-agents that they also contact with. And in some cases, the main organizer stays outside the country, and then the agents would be the one that recruit people within the country. So we had Lamin Sar, who's also a Senegalese, but he's resident in Spain. So somebody staying in Spain, but still being able to recruit people to go into this route as well. And then we also have a sub-agent, that is Yaya Janko, who remains at large as we speak. And this case occurred on Saturday, 6 July 2025. Now, the most recent case that was intercepted is just yesterday on the 9th of July 2025. Now, if you put together all what we have registered from June down to the 7th of July, it totals about 223 migrants altogether. But then now let's add the number of what we had received yesterday. Yesterday, there was an operation in Sanya that was conducted. We received an intelligence that gave us tips that there is a particular irregular movement in Sanya, because most of our operations are intelligence-led. We have people that engage with the public, they share with us information, and we act upon that. And when we acted on that particular intelligence, we were able to apprehend the suspect, who is also a Senegalese in this case. And then we also realized that there are 3 compounds in Sanyang village where this number of migrants were all intercepted. And we're talking about 167 migrants just in one operation. And they were harbored in 3 compounds within Sanyang. Now, a question can be asked again: how is it possible that people can be living around our neighborhoods, moving up and down, and we tend to raise a suspicious mindset as to what is happening in that environment? So the public has to maintain that vigilance, because if we are not in all areas, they should be able to at least serve as the eye of the immigration department. So we also realized that after the case was reported, the suspect was apprehended, we were able to apprehend all these 167 would-be migrants that were in Sanyang, and they're currently with us here at the Tenji migration base as we speak. Now, what is the aggregation of this number of migrants we had recently? Out of the 167, only 22 of them are Gambians. I have to emphasize this because we need to know very well that there are reasons why people want to use Gambia as a route. We have been seeing many debates or arguments on the media that we have been very much strict when it comes to non-Gambians. And this should serve as a limelight for you to understand why GID does not just want to strictly avoid our regulations. So we had Gambians who were just 22. 77 of these migrants were Senegalese in this last case. 50 of them were Guineans. And these two countries are just at our immediate borders. You will understand that Guinea is not far from the Gambia and they can easily enter through the Basse and other areas. Senegalese can come in different locations within the country. And then we also have 11 of them that are Malians, two were Ivorians, one Liberian, and then the number that we had received also included one pregnant woman who was also involved. Now, on gender aggregation, we had 113 of them were males and 54 of them were female. You can see also how the number has increased in the female aggregation. We used to have 5, 6, or 2 females, right? We're talking about 54 now that were also involved in this case. And some of them have minors with them, very young kids, that they want to risk their lives and go into this irregular migration route. So we had 25 of them who were minors out of this 167 number. Now imagine a child of 11 years, 15 years, or let's say, for example, less than that, taking a risk of going into a boat in this rainy season when you are not able to predict what time is it going to rain. And then you're now supposed to spend days at the sea before you're able to reach your destination. In fact, reaching becomes at the peak of it. That is just our false hope. What happens if they capsize within the sea? Are we able to consider some of the circumstances? But then the trend continues, and we think we have to add more efforts to be able to make people understand that the regular route is too risky for us to be able to sacrifice our lives into it. Now, overall, on all these interceptions from the 7th of July to the 10th of, from the 7th of June to the 10th of July today, we realized that we had 382 migrants that have been intercepted in different operations. And then if you look at them in aggregates based on numbers, out of these 382, 323 of them are all non-Gambians. 323 of these migrants we intercept are non-Gambians. And only 31 of them from these operations are Gambians. Now you look into the gender aggregation, we had 62 of them who are females, 219 were believed to be male, and then we have 27 of them who are minors overall. So these are recent cases that occurred in just a peak period of 1 month, from the 7th of June to the 10th of July. And the month of July going down towards September is a peak period for irregular migration. We have to be very vigilant because they would assume that we are not working because it is raining. But our officers are active every night, every day to make sure that we're able to safeguard the image of Gambia. We're able to protect our borders, and we are not going to tolerate people using our porous borders as a mechanism to travel outside the country. Migration becomes a right of every citizen, every Gambian, every non-Gambian. But it is only your right if it is legal. Traveling in an illegal means it goes against our immigration laws. It goes against conventions that we have signed to as a country. And we must not at any point relent in some of these occasions. Now, overall, we would have to highlight that above all these things we have registered, are we perfect as a department? Is everything 100%? And the answers will be no, because there is no way we can say whatever we do is perfect. Our operational pillar through the commissioner and the border patrol unit are doing amazingly well. But they also have some gaps. They face some challenges. And most of these challenges are not sometimes set onto the public to also understand. Now, what are the challenges we face in some of these cases? I'll give you a context. In 2025, GID had 28 cases that we want to prosecute. Just 2025, from January down to July. Now, out of these 28 cases, 6 of them had been prosecuted and were able to get a verdict. Now, 22 of them are still pending cases as we speak. And then we have more cases still being added onto that list. So now, we may want to ask, what is the reason why we have more pending cases than approved cases? And the answer is, the jail doesn't have the power to prosecute people directly. Remember, if you look at our historical context as a department, we started off as a sub-unit in the Gambia Police Force until we're able to now delineate at some point. But then we do not have the power, based on the immigration laws, to be able to prosecute people in this case. So what we do is our prosecution unit works with the Gambia Police Force unit to take these cases to the court. We are not able to determine how long the case will last at the court, and we cannot also tell how fast will the police take over those cases to be able to support in most cases. And that is why we have this number of pending cases currently with us. So we believe it's important that if GID has the prosecuting powers, then now it is going to streamline our efforts and be able to impact what we are doing. How do we expect to get this? There is an immigration bill currently ongoing. I'm sure you're already aware of that. And that bill will give us the powers to be able to pass into a law, and we have those powers. But the bill also becoming a law goes to legislative procedures. The NAM members have a part to play. The cabinet also have a part to play. And I believe if they understand the challenges we are facing and how the dynamics are evolving, they should be able to give it a priority for us to be able to at least redress to some of these concerns. Another challenge we face in our operations includes challenges with mobility. Remember, we have cases in Bara, Sanyong, Katong, etc. And then it's not possible for you to just have 2 or 3 vehicles to be able to go to all these areas. If you look at our operational base here, we have less than 2 vehicles currently with us. That means we need more resources to be able to support those operations. And then the last area I would want to also adjust on is when we intercept these migrants, they are brought to Kenya here. In collaboration with the Red Cross Society, they're able to at least fend for their livelihood. But then, what happens if GID was also able to get budgetary allocations to support these migration activities? That will also enhance our work and be able to promote more efficient migration management. So, in conclusion, I just want to acknowledge the efforts of our interagency partners. First, the Gambia Police Force had been very much supportive in most of our cases. The Gambian Navy, as you all know, are responsible of going to the sea for patrol basis. And in many occasions, they have been able to intercept migrants and will give it to us. So they've also been very supportive. We also have the Gambia Red Cross Society who have also been very supportive. If you go outside right now, you can see them taking care of the welfare of those migrants as well. And most importantly, we also had partners that are outside the country. We have the COP Gambia project that also supports our logistical operations and also give them capacity to be able to investigate these cases. We also have the Guardia Civil from Spain that also supports our engagements. We would also want to extend our regards to the Ministry of Interior, our line ministry, for also giving us more support for being able to do most of these activities. While we acknowledge our successes, register more accomplishments, we also highlight the gaps we have faced in these operations. And we believe that stakeholders out there, the government of the Gambia, and other potential partners should be able to come to the limelight and support the work of the Gambia Immigration Department.
Indeed, we can see the increase in the number of attempted departures that we have in the country. And then some of the factors or responsible for this has been highlighted by the ARO. Coming back to your question, it's important that questions like this are asked. And then I would like to inform everyone that it's not that we are weak in our capacity as immigration to handle these issues. But if you look at the geographical location of this country, we only share a boundary with Senegal. And then the porous nature of our border make it a difficult thing for the GID to be able to manage or control some of the movement of people into our country. And another factor responsible also for this increase of non-Gambians using Gambia, the source of Gambia as a stepping stone or transit point is because of the free movement protocol of the ECOWAS. If Gambia is a signatory to the ECOWAS free movement protocol, and then the protocol observes that citizens of each member state can freely enter into each other's country as a citizen, but with the condition, as I said, due to the porous nature of the border, some people circumvent the borders to enter the Gambia and then join this route of irregular migration. But also we have other people that aid and abet the entry of these people into the country, which also includes our own citizens. As been highlighted by PRO, we have seen that we have interceptions, and then most of these migrants are harbored into compounds. This also is a hindrance to the immigration department in our four zones, because if non-Gambians or non-documented Gambians are harbored in a compound, and then it is not reported, it is an offense against the Immigration Act in the first place. So the responsibility of compound owners, local authorities like thieves and safers, would also help us to mitigate this problem by reporting to the nearest immigration or police post once they have people that are not the usual habitant of those compounds. Because if you see a number of people within your compound, at least you should be able to know that this is not a familiar face and this number is not as usual in this area. So we are also reaching out to the community, telling them that it is an offense against the Immigration Act, laws of the Gambia, that you harbor a person in your compound which is not a habitual resident and not a legal resident in this country, more especially in a number that is more than the numbers that we usually see.
90% of these migrants that comes into our country, the Gambia, normally pass through uh, legal borders. Okay, they comes in with their national documents and they will go through all immigration procedures to get into our country. And normally, their reason of coming will be visit to family visits, family and friends. But now, if they get into our country, the tent will now change. They will now look into what is regular migration. But remember that their time of stay in our country, they'll be staying with our own people, our own Gambians, and in our own homes. Okay? Then the other thing will start, that is the migration. So we want every other Gambian, non-Gambian, or residents of the Gambia to help the immigration to give information about these people. Okay? The other question I want to ask, I want to answer is, you talk about after we do the facilitation of these migrants, what happened? That is, we have a national return mechanism whereby we involve other stakeholders. Okay, normally if you see, most of these migrants are here purposely to use our borders, to use our borders and travel uh, 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 to the Canary Island. So now, if that's impossible, their intention is not to stay again; they want to go back. So normally, this is not a deportation; it's just a repatriation for them to voluntary repatriation. They have to get back to their country of origin, or the mission they are here for is not succeeded, have failed. So they have to get back to the country of their country of origin. And in doing that, we normally facilitate their movement through the help of other stakeholders. You can see the IOM or the Red Cross and the immigration with the Ministry of Interior. We facilitate and we send them to the nearest border or their point of entry. To their point of entry, then the other stakeholders or the other counterpart, the Senegalese, remember she said we have only border with Senegal. Senegal will now also facilitate their other movement to the other border that they come through, and now finally to their country of origin.